In the words of the legendary Luke Gellerman, hello, dog fans, and welcome to the Sound the Siren podcast, because everything matters, including the fact that old white glove trick that Michigan pulled in the national championship game, that shit ain't gonna fly on Saturday. I'm not saying that's the reason they won, but blue gloves or yellow gloves or white gloves are gonna stand out against a purple jersey. That's all I'm saying. I am your host, Hooligan7. I'm joined tonight by DJ K. Woody and Hood Husky. We should be joined in a little bit by the Darker Knight. How are you gentlemen doing this evening?
Tired, but good.
Yeah, I second that too. Tired, but definitely excited for the weekend, but good too. So,
as always, have to mention that we are on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Sound the Siren UW. Please subscribe, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to our show. In particular, over the next month, if you'd like to listen to us or would be willing to listen to us on Spotify, please do so. That definitely helps us out a lot. If you're watching on YouTube, please do like this video, hit that subscribe button to get notified when we post new videos. If you'd like to support Sound the Siren, you can do so at podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/Sound the Siren pod UW/support. We will put that up on the screen, at least to the text of the link. But without further ado, beverages. I'll go first. I'm staying off the alcohol this late into the week, but I do have a Deschutes Black Butte non-alcoholic. Basically, their non-alcoholic version of their porter, and it's pretty nice. DJ, how about you? What do you got tonight?
I'm saving myself for Saturday for the little Sound the Siren tailgate that we got going. So just on some water tonight.
hey,
Good plan. Hood, how about you, bud?
hey, cause we be throwed at them games, boy, big throw. Girl, get over here. Come here. How you doing? I brought Essentia back. You know what I mean? for round 2. You know, Shorty been holding me down for the last few weeks. Sober October, so just locked in. So just got my high quality H2O. Another liter.
Nice. Gotta stay hydrated.
Oh,
All right,
come on.
well, let's move on into stupid tweets. I don't really have anything other than, maybe at Big Dog Energy for continuing to rip off people's content week in, week out. But other than that, I got nothing in terms of stupid tweets.
I actually...
Yeah, I got one.
You go ahead.
This is from at AJ71827. He says, if Michigan loses to Washington, I'll eat dog poop out of a red Solo cup. It's just the tweets have been going around since week 1. But yeah, that's my tweet. Because he's not going to do it regardless of what happens.
And then mine is PFF posted, obviously, like, Michigan has an elite cornerback duo. The homie Evan Feather, shout out to Ev, he just quote tweeted it and said Washington has an elite wide receiver duo as well. Only wide receiver duo in the country with 400 yards each. And the stupid tweet is QB11, who is on a roll of stupid tweets. Mans is the worst talent evaluator when it comes to watching football I have seen out there. Somehow he knows other teams, but doesn't know the team that's been whooping his ass lately. But he said, he quoted that Evan and said, the guy just tried to say Giles Jackson is elite. And in my opinion, like, talk about bad timing, you know what I'm saying? Giles is outperforming every single receiver that, is on Oregon's roster right now. You paid all that money.
Oregon? Yes, we have played one more game. But how much did Oregon spend on their wide receiver room? And
come on,
Evan Stewart has what, like 130 yards?
Do they have a receiver that's gone over? Trayshawn probably has gone over 100 yards in a game this year.
Well, and Tez is leading for them, and he's got and Tez is having a nice year. He's got 300 yards, but the point that I was making I got into it a little bit today. the point that I was making is it's like, it's all well and good, but how much did we hear the whole offseason about how loaded Oregon was going to be
Come on.
and how absolutely doomed and like just there's no chance we're going to have any prayer in any game that Washington was going to be in yet? Which program is top 20 in offense and defense in the country right now? Granted, yes, we're 3-2. Wins and losses are ultimately what matters most. But I guarantee you, like, record aside, anybody think that Washington, I mean, and, you know, I'm going to maybe pat myself on the back a little bit and say, you know, on a couple of different places where I said that Washington was going to have a top third offense and a top third defense in the Big Ten this season. That prediction's looking pretty good.
It is, and I think a lot of Husky fans saw it coming. You know, I mean, I think a lot of Husky fans saw that coming. So,
hey, I'm glad you brought up
we were
that
going to have a
tweet.
top third special teams unit because that's not been there yet. But.
No.
Hey, they cleaned it up versus a little bit, but
Yep.
Yeah, as soon as I said my tweet, I was like, oh, dang, I forgot about the QB11 tweets. And so I'm glad you mentioned that. He's so annoying because, I mean, he's so biased in everything he looks at. Like, he can't even, like, admit anything good about Washington ever. And it's so annoying because, I mean, there's players for Oregon. I'm not saying, like, I like them, but I know that they're good. Bucky Irvin last year, I'm not saying I'm a fan, but I know he was elite. Like, guys like JPJ, like, Sewell when he was there, like those guys, I would admit they're elite. And he would never say that about UW player.
Relative to what Dylan Gabriel's doing lately, but
yeah, well, I mean, I would have said that Bo Nix was a good college player. I did not, and still don't think he'll perform in the NFL, but maybe he proved me wrong. And if he does, I'll admit that. But
like,
yeah, there's guys that are good at Oregon, and he won't ever say that same thing about anyone at Washington. I feel like.
But yeah, I don't want to give.
This is the same guy that said that Jalen Cropper and Jay Kaner were better than anybody that Washington had.
Lonnie
on their
Rivers
roster
and come on,
2022.
Man. Ain't nobody got time for that. His comments in the group chat. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it alone. But yeah, he's a smart kid, but
he doesn't show it very often.
yeah, bro, that's ridiculous.
All right, let's move along into Husky Couture. DJ, you want to go first on this one? What'd you pick out this week?
Go ahead, and I got mine. I just forgot to pull it up.
Yeah, I got to go with the what JCap called the in our group text, basically the Chris Peterson special, the Rain Spooner Hawaiian shirt, the purple version, and that's REYN Spooner, but it's fire. I think I've seen it listed at the bookstore. It's on the Rain Spooner website. Yeah, until they bring back that Lambright polo from the Whammy in Miami, I'm gonna be appreciating the Hawaiian Husky vibe.
All right, I found mine. It was the one that I mentioned last week that I was going to go with, but it's this UW hat from Simply Seattle.
Fire.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that is
$38.
That shit go dummy.
Yeah.
That I never thought that golfer hat from the '80s with the rope across was going to come back, but man, Simply Seattle, it's back and it is
a thing now, bro. Like,
yeah, hey, the flare jeans. Don't get me started,
bro. I just saw like a two-tone corduroy vest, bro. One side was like light denim, the other side was dark, and it was a corduroy vest, bro, with the buttons that clip. I was like, bro, and that looks so fresh.
No.
Coming next year, if we're in the '80s, let me just say one thing. Like, if we're in the '80s now, the '90s are going to come back next year, and so the hot Husky Couture item next season is going to be a purple and gold sweater vest.
That Jim Lambright you're talking about, yeah.
Come on, and mine is more just something that's on more than just a singular platform. I've been a huge critic of how Adidas is rolled things out, especially things like casual wear, casual t-shirts, just kind of those types of things, that type of merch. And I've been huge against if you have all these like soccer athletes and all these NBA athletes, NFL athletes, I want to see purple and gold colorways at least in their signature shoes, for UW. So seeing these shoes drop, the Adidas Alpha Boost V2, those are hard. They're mad casual. They look super comfortable. Usually Alpha Boosts are super comfortable. But it's interesting because they're not overdone, but they're not underdone. So it's a really cool kind of look and vibe. So check those out. And I'm looking at the Husky bookstore right now, so they're available on many channels. But those are flame casual shoes.
Yeah, it sounds like if they're not overdone or underdone, they're just right. So you could call it kind of like the purple and Goldilocks style.
I like the little fan thing that might come with it, the little fan finger. That's fire.
Yeah, that and the go dog. I think it's dubs up on the heel pull.
I didn't know that. That's fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the first ones that might pop in a while. So
let's talk about Rutgers and what happened with a game where Washington outgained its opponent by over 222 yards.
Ridiculous.
Or by 222 yards and still managed to lose. I didn't get a chance to watch it live, so it took me a couple. I'll be honest, it took me a couple of days to get myself into a mental space to be like, okay, I'm going to watch this to break this down. But what'd you guys think?
I feel like we gain no momentum. Like even if we make big plays, like on offense or defense, it's almost like on defense they don't happen few and far between. On offense they do, but even still, like I rarely see any. And this is like for 5 weeks. I rarely see any juice, man. Like you're making tackle for losses, you're, big hits and those types of things, and you might see that person celebrate, but you're not seeing like the sideline or the actual team really like celebrating, or it transitions into the next play and then maybe a quarter. You're not really seeing big momentum type energy. Also, too, team just doesn't seem clutch. Like there you might have, one or two drives where I'm kind of thinking of the play where I think on first down we get a no gain, or we're on defense. We stop them to a no gain. Second down, I think it was an incomplete pass, PBU. I think this is their second or third drive of the game. It was a PBU by Jordan Shaw. Then it's 3rd and 10. We hold Ethan Kaliak-Manis in the pocket, but then he scrambles for the first down, and runs right through Voi's, arm tackle. And I feel like that was probably one of the more key early points of the game, because it kind of showed that offense that they can kind of, move the ball. So if Voi stops them there, we probably get decent field position, et cetera. So they actually went down to score a touchdown. So I think the clutch plays and the momentum plays are just not happening. So even when we do score, like the Denzel Boston run, it just feels like more of a sigh of relief than like, let's go, we just imposed our will on you, or we just made a big play. It's like, God, finally, shit. Like it's more like that than it is. So, and then in regards to just kind of the game, I'm really, really, stats are one thing, and I feel like Kyle Monangai had a decent stats game, but I feel like he didn't impose his will at any point in the game. Like even that big run was a highlight run, but that was probably about it. The way that we locked up Dymere Miller, that kind of caught me off guard a little bit. They had to move him around and hide him. So the defense is real. The defense, in my opinion, is real. Losing Javon Parker hurts. The defense is real. Defense held up all game, in my opinion. 21 points. I can't be mad at that, at all. Offensively, man, we heard the red zone issues, and knee jerk was red zone for a lot of the fans. And then knee jerk was a lot of play calling, throw fish under the bus, all that. Watching the game multiple times, and I'm going to try to say this as tactfully as I can. Some of the senior leaders on offense, weren't executing. I'm gonna say the person's name. I feel like Giles Jackson really had a tough game. You know what I mean? Now, obviously, you had the tip in the red zone, but Giles, I think it was about a smash concept, and Giles kind of runs at the wrong angle to the back pylon. Looking for the ball in the air. That's an easy concept to execute. I think there was another play in the red zone where there's a miscommunication. So it just really felt like he kind of messed up a little bit of the rhythm in the red zone. So I kind of transitioned from making that an issue about Jed and more about personnel. So I think the personnel kind of failed us a little bit on offense in that game. So hopefully they can hide that moving forward.
I love everything you said. The one thing I really agree with is when you're talking about Denzel Boston's touchdown run. I'm not just like they weren't excited. There's like a sigh of relief because I mean that's how I felt too, and it seems like that's how the players felt, and it shouldn't be like that. It should be like, all right, cool, we got this. Let's get momentum going. Let's make a stop. Let's do it again. And then it's like, we did it. All right. Like, and so that's exactly how I felt. But I mean, yeah, you're right. Like the execution, and then I mean, mental mistakes, as we all know, there's multiple throughout the game. I mean, you can't mention this
I,
game without mentioning Holmes running on the field and being the game changer on that.
Holmes on the
Hooligan, you're gonna
field,
say something?
CTR. Yeah, Holmes on the field, D'Angelo's late hit, potentially
Hmm.
reviewed for targeting.
Yeah.
Drew as a party had one, and that was going to be the point that I was going to make, is that so much of like that kind of momentum and where you get that cohesion and that flow going, every time we hit one of those, it's like shit, there's a penalty.
Oh,
And so
I'm
like
expecting that. I'm like looking, okay, where's the
I
flag?
mean, so
And
like
literally, I was thinking that during the block kick. I was like, there's a flag somewhere, and I was like, yep, there it is. But I
There's
didn't
the
expect it
flag.
to be something like
I mean,
shit, that
I think
shit.
that might
But
have
yeah,
been even the reaction with Denzel's long touchdown. It was like,
Where's
are
no,
we good?
I didn't celebrate until like when we started flying up with extra point.
Like, um, and it's just we've been so disappointed. Like, and it's the frustrating thing about it is it's like these are things like, yes, they have been indicative, and there are teams. The thing that really will ultimately tell the tale of the season is, some teams, this is just who they are all year, and they just make dumb penalty after dumb penalty after dumb penalty, and then some teams make some stupid mistakes and they learn from it and they grow. And that was kind of the point, like in some of the conversations that I had growing out of that QB11 tweet, was it's like, yes, is like, and a couple of Duck fans like, hey, yeah, you're 3-2, what, or when I said that, or he's out producing everybody on Oregon's roster, it's like, yeah, well, Oregon's roster doesn't also have losses to Rutgers and Wazoo, and I'm like, great. Does that make a damn bit of difference going forward in terms of the fact that like our offense is top 20 or top, or offense and defense are top 20? Like, no, those are things that we can take forward, and going forward, you can clean some of that stuff up, and we can be very encouraged by that. Who this team is now is not going to be who they are 3 weeks from now.
Yeah,
Like,
and
yes,
then
and go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, talk about the clutch factor or the lack of clutch factor that Hood was mentioning, because yeah, the majority of these penalties are happening on. I mean, I'm not saying the end of the game clutch, but like in crucial situations where we need to play,
Sure.
we need to stop. They make this mistake. I mean, sometimes officials make some bad calls, sure, but a lot of it is on us just making a stupid penalty, dumb mistake, not running the right route, or holding somebody, running to the quarterback, something, and it's just like every time. And
Death
And
by
it's
a
being
thousand cuts.
called. I think it's being called as well. That's a huge thing too, because going back and watching, I think Michigan played Minnesota last week. I watched Grant 78 make a TFL on the running back and did the same thing to the face mask to the running back there. You know what I mean? That Javon Parker did, and there was no flag. So um, I do feel like there's been wild inconsistency throughout the country, though. And like, it's
yeah,
not a
Absolutely.
specific conference. It's not.
Yep.
It just seems like they might have took the summer off for practice or something. Like you
Yeah,
look
the
at the Miami
officiating has
Virginia
been
Tech game. It's just
wild.
so all over the place, bro.
Like Minnesota's offsides on the onside kick, where
mm,
it like,
mm,
I mean,
Bruh.
his
that was so
arm was
bad.
offsides, his feet weren't, and I'm like, that's so. Uh,
It's ticky tack in
Yeah,
their game
yeah,
altering plays, bro. Like,
exactly.
you know.
Yeah, and the other thing about penalties with our team, so well, in particular on offense, is if there's a holding penalty on the drive, well, you might as well kiss that drive goodbye. Like we can't recover from it. Whether it's that execution, coaching, it's like they kind of give up. If it was like, oh, 1st and 10, we run for 8 yards. Well, it's coming back 10 yards, holding. That drive's most likely going to be done, and I mean that's way different than it was the last couple of years with our elite offenses. So maybe it's just something that we're used to
we
overcoming,
got
but it's just
we got
yeah,
spoiled.
frustrating.
We did get spoiled a lot by the flow, and certainly in, like, to the point about the miscommunication between Will and Giles on that route in the end zone. We were spoiled by the fact that Mike and J-Mac and JP and Rome worked together for
Had a
2 years
connection.
and like in and out, and they knew exactly. But even in the last game of their careers, Rome went one way and Mike thought it should go the other way, and
Facts. That
it
shit happens.
happens. It happens, but like there's certainly, like is it frustrating to lose a game where you clearly, I mean, like if you look at Parker Fleming, and did we really get beat that bad? Like we should have won that game. Like, I mean, like you probably won't see a game where it's that disparate very often, if ever again. And does it suck? But is there a lot to take positive out of it? I'm like, Rutgers is not a bad football team. I don't think they're as good as some of the hype. The kind of the hype of, oh well, they could be a sneaky great team in the Big Ten this year. I don't think they're that good, and I mean I think they're a good team. I don't think they're a great team. But we went and put up 500. Like everybody that was concerned about the cross country travel,
didn't matter.
Like 521 yards.
It didn't matter. The
under 300 yards of offense allowed. Like the
that
environment
didn't matter. Didn't matter. And it was a dope ass environment. When I went back to watch it, I was like, "Oh,
yeah, it was lit.
It was lit as hell."
Yeah.
One thing I do.
Oh, go ahead.
But no, you good, bro. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, two things I want to say. One, shout out to, you mentioned him, Javon Parker. That's a huge loss for us, and I feel so bad. Both him and his brothers had some bad injuries getting through. So, man, that's huge for us to lose him, and just for him too. So, really feel bad for him. But I also want to ask a question. Okay, it's not this guy's fault that we lost. I mean, I brought it up earlier. But do we win that game if Holmes doesn't step on that field, on that play? Not the whole game.
Yeah, I don't know if you can say win, but I would tell you like that was the first time in 5 games where I saw like tangible belief in body language. Like, oh shit, we made a big play. Everybody run and jump and get
They're all
excited.
hyped, yeah.
And I think I think it was Fish that said it afterwards. He was like, I mean, I think he said something like, I don't think I've seen that before, but like, it was a young kid on his first time on a road game that was excited. Like, you know what I mean? And like showed energy about excitement. It obviously sucked, but it was like, oh, damn, finally somebody's like hype about it. And you can see the whole sideline was lit. The 11 on the field were lit, and that was the first time that I saw that. Like, and I'm talking, we're blowing teams out. We're beating Northwestern. We're beating Eastern Michigan. It's all relatively comfortable. There's explosive plays, and people are scoring for the first time, and people are getting their first playing time. There's a lot of exciting moments that have happened, and we've never seen any energy. So I think
we've seen some on the field energy. Like Jeremiah went over, like when Decker got his long one, Jeremiah went over and dapped him up. Like we've seen it a little bit,
but the whole team's hype was a little different. So I think it was more of an energy momentum sapper than it was like that singular play like impacting the game.
Hey,
it was almost like another like fuck again.
Let me ask you one thing. So I mean, obviously by letter of law, that was the right call. But you mentioned ticky tack. Do you think that was like a ticky tack call? Like he ran on the field, like 3 steps, came back in, he was celebrating. Like
he ran.
I think the fact that it was going on during the play is the part, but it was really like bang bang. Dude jumped on the ball. He probably was down, but there was no whistle blown. I would say in most cases they would throw probably a sideline interference.
Yeah, that's what I thought was going to happen. Yeah.
They'd probably be like, okay, the issue was sideline warning or personal foul after the play. Like they probably would have tried to do that, but we're not catered to, as newbie big at this point. So
the ball was still live, and unfortunately, in the instance that like Vince ran like directly in front of the
damn refs,
right in front,
bro. Right, and if you watch the refs, they're kind of, you can see they're like, "Fuck, my bad, dog," but I gotta call it. Like you can see it, they're like, "Whatever, we gotta call this shit."
Yeah, it's like that. I mean, and the other thing like about how you can kind of flush some of this game is that how many times is Grady Gross going to miss 3 field goals?
Bro, with all the bullshit happening, we still win the game if we make 2 of them.
Right, but I'm not putting it on Grady at all. Like it's gonna happen, and like because he didn't all 3 of those like Granted, it was weird that he missed all of them left, and there wasn't but he didn't miss them by much. All three of them. I mean, I think there were some. The snap was a little high. The rhythm might have been a little off. There were some problems, like to your point about Giles not having the best game. Like, I don't think he had the kind of grip on the field that he was used to.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, it's not something that, like, I don't put this on Grady. Like, the whole team lost. The whole team lost this game. Some play calling lost this game. It is what it is. But let's.
I'll say one more thing. I'll just say one more thing about this game specifically. It's tough for me to really like critique the team, because I think going into the year, we were all like skeptical of our trenches. And the fact that like our trenches have turned out to be probably one of the better pieces of the team, like I'm not like, man, the offensive line is god dang, bro, why is it not? Like, I haven't mentioned offensive line since like week 1 or week 2. I haven't mentioned the D-line all year. That's been like an exceptional part of the team. It's been, random plays and penalties, and it's been the immaturity, I guess, that we felt like we knew what was gonna come with having all these new players, but like actually seeing it come to fruition, it's like, damn, I didn't even know that was gonna overcome the development of talent on the field.
The criticism on the offensive line, if anything, has been penalties at the wrong moments, but that's about it. But like, Rutgers is the best defense that we've played thus far. The one time that we had a negative play was where Will had to fall on a bad snap. That's
they got to stop doing that shit too, please.
I mean, that's definitely something.
It wasn't
that we
a bad
need to clean
snap.
up.
It wasn't. It hit him right in his hands, bro.
Yeah.
So we just got to stop doing that, and it's in rain too. We just got to stop doing it. It's obvious. It's gonna be obvious when Damon goes in and he's under center. Like, okay, but at this point, I'd rather have that than a loss down and a negative play, bro.
Yep.
All right.
All right. Let's go ahead and award our purple helmets. Let's start on offense.
Ooh.
Hood, who gets yours?
I am gonna say I got to give it to 75. Had a bad penalty early in the game, but Jonah had a fun time running off his ass. Pause. You know what I mean? Like, in both cheeks, to be honest. Whether it was off a right guard, whether it was right or left, you know what I'm saying? Jonah had a lot of success running on the interior. And then our guards did a really good job at the second level. So I'll say offensively, I got to give it to D'Angelo, regardless of that. I love to see that physicality, though, and finishing a block. I mean, that's how you're coached. Obviously, you get your head out the way and stuff, but that's how you're coached. Did you ask defensively, too, or are we just doing offense right now?
Just offense for right now.
Yep, I got 75.
DJ.
I guess I'm going with the obvious one again. I don't dissect the offensive line like Hood does, respectfully, because I wish I could, but I gotta go with Jonah Coleman. He's a beast out there. I mean, honestly, they can go with a few guys on offense.
That's what I was
all
thinking.
The skill position guys, or even linemen. There's several that showed up, so I'm gonna go with Jonah Coleman.
Yep, and I'm gonna go with Denzel.
Yep, see.
Yeah.
Showing some explosivity, like leading the conference in touchdowns, like.
Yeah. Will Rogers could have got one too. Like he showed out.
Yeah. No, it's been solid. All right, let's flip it over to the defensive side of the ball. DJ, you can go first on this one.
I'm just gonna give it to a shout out to my guy Javon Parker. Just getting that Achilles injuries. To me, he was the anchor of that defensive line, carrying them.
Yep.
So, gonna give it to him since he can't get any more this year.
And I got 5 too. Voy Tunufi, obviously outside of the play I kind of mentioned earlier, just that like Ethan Kaliak managed scramble. He was a menace, you know what I'm saying, from the interior and on the edge. Had a decent amount of no gain tackles. I think had maybe like 1 tackle for loss. You know, we heard a lot. You know, PFF decided to flex the fact that Rutgers had the best offensive line essentially in the country, had the highest graded player at every position, and that you know, with all due respect, that shit was mud. You know what I mean? And Voy definitely took advantage of it, opened up holes for a lot of our linebackers to flow as well. although some people are falling out of their position. But yeah, I'll get after Voy.
Yeah. I would say like a couple. I think I gotta go Zotu. He showed up a lot, all over everywhere,
He is
making.
different, bro.
He is a different cat this year, or
He
he's a
is,
different dog this year. Let me get my team.
bruh.
Yeah, like Zoe is a different dude this year, and it's really impressive. I also got to give a shout to Zach Turfy. Hope
Yeah,
he
yep.
can tough it out and play on Saturday. Obviously,
Him and Bruner both tough. Bruner was hurt all game. You can
Oh
tell.
yeah, that shoulder ain't coming up. That shoulder ain't coming up at all.
No.
He running like.
Yeah. He'll make a big hit, and you can tell he's hurting, but he's right back out there.
I remember he had to call a play, and he was like, he like pointed this way. He's like, yeah, yeah. So then he goes, yeah, yeah, yeah. He's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
like, bro, and that sucked.
yeah. I mean, like they've been. It's just like the defense has been probably, I think, collectively in terms of like what we know so far, like as happy as I am that the offense has been as effective as it is, other than scoring points when we need to, and capitalizing on all the yardage and the efficiency and the metrics that we're generating. I mean, like this defense is freaking fun to watch. Let's just,
Bruh. And it's like different. It's different people every week. Upperclassmen, underclassmen. I think with the turnover and then the inexperience at this level, to be able to rally these kids, and also with how difficult the defense is that you're running, I thought this was a year 2, year 3 type thing, and we're seeing a year 1, and that should just show you how like good Steve Belichick is, and for him being so laid back, it's definitely his process and his way of articulating, because you can be like overly detail oriented and it don't translate. Because you're not, maybe speaking the right language. Obviously, DeBoer and staff are really good at that. We're seeing that attention to detail
on one side of the ball, they were good at that.
on one side of the ball. And now we're seeing that again. That crazy attention to detail on one freaking side of the ball, and then the details are lacking on the side of the ball that has more experience. Well,
And the
no,
head coach.
I know. Never mind. Defense definitely.
It's pretty similar, yeah.
Yeah, defense definitely has more veterans, but
One last thing I
All
want
right.
to say about the game. Excuse my language, but fuck those announcers, man. It sounded like they were rooting for Rutgers the entire time.
I think it was Tim Brando, and
Yeah,
that guy sucks.
That was so
I muted
annoying.
it, bro. I muted it the second time.
Yeah, smart.
All right, it's time to make some big predictions. But before we do, we've got to give DJ your laurels. You are in the through 3 weeks. DJ and the fans are leading at 28 wins and 6 losses. Last week, the listeners, DJ, JCap, and I went 8-1. Hood and the Darker Knight were 7-2. For the season, like I said, DJ and the listeners are at 28-6. But you got me right in that rearview mirror at 27-7. But let's get into our predictions for the week.
Damn it!
Starting tomorrow night, a 6 p.m. kickoff on Fox, and Mr. Smith makes his return to Eugene with Michigan State as opposed to Oregon State to take on the number 6 Oregon Ducks. Oregon is a 23.5 point favorite, over under at 52.5. Sparty versus the Quacks.
This game's over by the third quarter. Oregon wins easily. Michigan State is not that good, and Oregon is
better than expected, but not that good.
Yeah.
I think it would be so funny for them to like resurrect the play, the just what was it, 22 runs in a row from 2 years ago.
The best possible outcome as us being Oregon haters is that it's close at the end. But Oregon's still going to win regardless. But yeah, that'd be if they make it interesting, I'll take that.
Smith pulling the upset would be the funniest damn thing.
Oh yeah, there's no way that happens. But I
don't think it happens either. But
I mean, with how inconsistent they've played, you just don't really know. I just think Aiden is too turnover prone more than anything, and like one of the Oregon strengths is definitely their pressure they get. So yeah, I got them actually covering the 23. What was the point total?
52.5.
Oh yeah, I got that. Oregon, that's over that. I say Oregon probably gets high 30s, low 40s. So
Yep.
yeah,
I think Oregon wins. I don't think they cover because but I think it's like that Michigan State scores some in garbage time. Like I think it's close to a cover, but not. Like I think it's
I
like
agree.
Oregon by 21.
Yeah.
They can definitely challenge their Oregon's defense if their receivers are healthy. I know that their receivers aren't necessarily healthy last week and maybe the week before, but they got good receivers.
Moving in, there's 2 9 o'clock games. First one on Fox. Apologies to our friends in Westwood. I don't know why you're on national television because that's not a good thing. But Penn State coming into it's UCLA traveling to what will be a very unhappy Valley for the Bruins. To face number 7 Penn State. Penn State is a 28-point favorite over under at 46.5. I'll go first on this one. Penn State wins. Penn State covers. Penn State might take care of the over by themselves.
Ditto. Ditto. I
This
called
one's over at halftime.
Yep, I called last week that last week for Penn State was Drew Allar's like statement versus good defense, and yes, sir. Now we can see him coast. This is a blowout.
The other 9 o'clock game at Purdue goes into Camp Randall. They'll play Wisconsin. This one's on the Big Ten Network. Wisconsin is a 13.5-point favorite. Over under at 44.5.
I say they do not get over 44.5. Wisconsin covers. I'm not picking Purdue for the rest of the year. It's not even a talent thing. They just have disappointed me, so I'm not picking it.
So you got Wisconsin winning something like 27-10 type score if they're in the under but still covering.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
just watching them versus USC made me feel like when they're riled up and ready, they're solid. So they'll struggle for the 27 though.
Yeah.
That was a good comeback by USC last week against them.
Oh yeah.
They didn't look good again in the first half, just like against Michigan. Yeah, Wisconsin winning.
Yep. Wisconsin wins. Wisconsin covers under.
I think that's
If they get if they get above 25, I'll be surprised.
Chaz Malusi just stepped away from the program too. Their like starting running back just stepped away from the program, so they may not score 27 points.
Transfer portal?
Yeah.
He is like a 5th or 6th year player, and I think he's already played his 4s. It wasn't mentioned that it was transfer portal. It said stepped away from the program, so he could be doing that. But in your 5th or 6th year, you're trying to play next year? Okay, sure.
Got a couple of 12:30 games. The first one is probably is definitely the biggest one, and this one is our next opponent. Traveling into the Horseshoe to play number 3 Ohio State. Ohio State is an 18.5-point favorite over Iowa. Over under is 45.5.
Statement game for Ohio State. I think Iowa's offense is better, but their defense is not performing like we would have thought. And their personnel is actually better than last year, and or the same. Yeah, I got Ohio State by more than that 18. Ooh. And what's the number, the score?
45.5.
I got over that too. I got Ohio State may score that 45 by themselves.
Oh damn.
TJ, what do you think?
I would probably. I mean, yeah, definitely Ohio State wins. I would. I think it's gonna be the line's gonna be close. I'll say they cover, but just under that line. But I don't know, anything can surprise me with this, except I don't expect Iowa winning. But I can see them making it a game if possible. But I still think Ohio State covers.
Yeah. To be a little different, and it's actually honestly my take on this one. I think Iowa can do enough to turn this one into a little bit of a rock fight. I think Ohio State wins. I don't think they cover. The debate is whether it gets to the over. I'm going to go the under, actually. I think, do the math. Actually, no, I'll take the over. But I think this is a game that Ohio State wins by, I think this is 27-17, 31-21, 31-20.
I got 41, 20, 21, 38, 17. Yeah, I don't see it in Iowa this year.
No, I can see that Hooligan because, I mean, Ohio State, they might be the most talented team in college. I'm not saying they are, but they're
The
definitely.
execute talent matched with like their execution. I
But they
think
just
that
have some lapses in games, though, like where they're just like a whole quarter or something. They're just, I don't know, not giving their
Yep.
whatever it is, not giving their best or whatever. So I can see something like that happening. But yeah, I think they win easily.
yeah, Iowa brings it out. You know what I mean? And it's going to be at home, so they're not playing a Michigan State or no type of team like
Hmm.
that. I think they just kind of Iowa is good enough to wake up for, and Iowa just runs the ball. I mean, Caleb Johnson is a dog. You know what I mean? But this is going to be the best. This is arguably the best defensive line in the country. So good
Yep.
luck.
All right, the other 12:30, the ranked Indiana Hoosiers, number 23, traveling into Northwestern and Martin Stadium. No, not the one in Pullman, the one in Evanston. That seats only a slightly a few thousand less than the high school stadium across the state.
Yeah, I was wondering. Sorry, I started to interrupt, but I was wondering like why the lowest ticket price is 139. But I was like, oh yeah, there's like a 12,000
15,000
capacity
seats.
stadium.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's 15,000 seats. Indiana is a 14-point favorite. Over under is at 41.5. I'll go first on this one. Indiana wins. Indiana covers. Indiana covers the whole over by themselves. This is going to be a bloodbath.
I'll go with that too.
Yep.
Indiana.
Yes. Indiana's my favorite team in the country at this point. Obviously outside of Washington. And yes, Bloodbath. I will say they score 45 or more. Their running game is crazy.
All right, last week's opponent traveling into Lincoln to play Nebraska at 1 o'clock on Fox Sports 1. By the way, the Indiana Northwestern game is on the Big Ten Network. Ohio State is on CBS and Paramount Plus. So Rutgers and Nebraska 1 o'clock on FS1. Huskers are 7-point favorite over under at 40.5.
I got Rutgers. Winning by a field goal. I think this is a style of play that Nebraska hasn't really played this year, and they haven't really shown to be kind of physical. They've shown to have kind of like endurance, I guess, win games in the fourth quarter, but they haven't really shown to be like physical in the first. So I think Rutgers can definitely run the ball on them. Their passing game's going to come back alive. There's nobody on Lincoln or on Nebraska's secondary that I'm concerned about stopping anybody on their offense. So I got Rutgers by like possession 3-7, 3-6-7.
Yeah, I agree with you actually on this one. I think it's close. I think this is actually a really good football game, but I think Rutgers has enough, and with the experience of that team, I think that's ultimately going to make the difference. I think Nebraska is getting a lot better, and I think Nebraska goes bowling this year. But
Dylan's made it look kind of easy a little bit. It's kind of weird.
DJ,
This
what do you
is
think about
the
that one?
toughest game to predict, in my opinion, this week for the Big Ten. I'm gonna go with Nebraska. I don't think the covers. I think it's like what Hood says. It'll be like a field goal game, and so maybe Nebraska wins by 3 points or 4 points, something like
All right.
that. But I think that home field is gonna help them win. That'd be the main reason. Neutral field, I'll probably go with Rutgers.
All right.
I agree with that.
All right. The other 4:30 game, and this one's on the Big Ten Network. Number 11 USC traveling into Huntington Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Minnesota.
The Trojans are an 8.5-point favorite over under at 49.5.
I got you.
Yep, I got them too.
I think they cover. I think it's an over because I think Minnesota will do some things against the defense, but this one feels like could be like a 38-20.
Yeah, Minnesota plays hard. They definitely have shown to play hard. They just don't have the horses to keep up. This is a game USC kind of puts in their twos.
Yeah, they don't have the secondary.
Yeah.
They've got a running game. Like Darius Taylor will be able to do some things on the ground against USC. Rosemer will have some success.
Their receivers have been making some solid plays too, bro. Jackson is one of them, and that crazy catch by the dude at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Catch the ball like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, no.
That inverted shit's great.
All right. Well, let's move into the big one. Number 10 Michigan coming into Husky Stadium at 4:30 on NBC and Peacock. We are right now a 1.5 point favorite. Over-unders at 41.5. But in general, what do we expect to see on Saturday? Any particular standout concerns?
You want that one, DJ? You want to go first?
I think with as well as our defense has played, I have concerns at being able to stop the run consistently, because that's what they're going to want to impose on us is that run game. And I mean, I think the obvious concern, I think for most people, is yeah, finishing drives. Excuse me, scoring touchdowns, executing the red zone. Sorry, it's in my throat. But yeah, and like there's coaching decisions and mental decisions, mental mistakes that we make throughout the game, or can we limit those? Because we almost still won against Rutgers, making lots of mental mistakes, but we can't make half those amount against Michigan, even it is at home. So yeah, I just want to see Jed make some good choices out there with like play calling and just overall decision making and things like that. So I mean, I have some concerns for sure. Can we overcome them? Yeah, I definitely think we can overcome a lot of these things. I said it on Twitter, like these are fixable things. I mean, much easier than like not having the right talent out there, or not having like the uh, schemes in place, as I mentioned too. So it's definitely fixable, but yeah, I do have some concerns. I'm hyped to see the crowd though. It's going to be a sold out game. I mean, probably helps some Michigan fans. There's going to be a good amount there. I'm expecting that, but I expect a good Husky crowd. Going to be loud. I'm excited to go to the game.
I think kind of what I mentioned in regards to the first 5 weeks of just not having that juice and not having that energy. I think, whether directly or indirectly, I think Jed having Mike be the person that is the leader of this game kind of like starts that before the game starts, kind of brings about some confidence and some swag. And I'm sure that Mike's going to talk to the team. You know what I mean? So I think that brings about a lot. You mentioned you were concerned. With all due respect, man, I respect Michigan as a program. I respect Michigan as a team. Uh, I'm not concerned at all. Um, it's not even about them having the horses. It's just more so about where your horses are. This will be another game that if Michigan is to win, it'll be simply because their defensive line impacted the game. Um, I do not see anywhere on offense, or sorry, with them on defense, where they slow us down more than a Rutgers did. And I think we're going to be a little bit more effective and efficient on offense in this game. I think we're still going to put up a decent amount of yards, regardless of who's healthy or not on their defense. I think them offensively, Mullins is what 6'1", 6'2", 230, 235. We just played a bruiser. So it's not like we haven't seen that before. It's not like we have people in the room that haven't had to tackle him before or aren't aware of who he is. And Donovan's kind of played this Batman role. So obviously stop him from his explosives, bro, and you're solid. Like USC did decent. They just couldn't stop the same thing in the Natty. Like they couldn't stop one or two giant explosives and just couldn't, rear their way back and come back into the game. But I'm not concerned at all. I think Washington saying they're a better team is, I think, a stretch. I think there's more talent on Michigan, but I think where the talent is on our team is just better for this matchup. I think it's a better styles make fights matchup for us. And I think this is a game where we I think with realizing the magnitude and like Mike being there and being a sold out crowd, I think this is a game where a lot of those inexperienced kids are like, whoa, okay, this is what we came here for? Okay. I think this is the first game where a lot of these guys are like, this is why I came here. Like this is let me play it out of my mind.
Think about all the mojo that or all of the history that we're pulling in with this game. And like this is gonna be lit because you've got just in terms of the Washington history, Mike's coming back. Your honorary captain is Big Play Jermaine.
Yep.
And the Husky legend is an undefeated quarterback at Washington in Billy Joe Hobart, who beat Michigan in a Rose Bowl in our national championship season. So the vibes and the mojo are going to be there. And let's hope the results of the season don't come up the street with him. But if you want good vibes, Julio Rodriguez is not a bad person to sound the siren.
Facts.
Where have I heard that phrase before? And didn't Julio do that for the Oregon game last year? Or he was at the game, at least.
Yeah.
He was at the game for sure, I remember.
Julio's done one before. I don't remember which game it was.
He's on the sideline, but I don't think he sounded the
siren. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't remember. But I think he sounded the siren before. I just don't remember which game it was for. But there's going to be a lot of vibes. It's going to be crazy loud.
Recruits are there too.
Yep, I was going to mention a lot of recruits.
Are going to be there too. Yes, Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham are very good players, and they are going to get theirs, and they're probably going to have. So we're going to have some tackles for loss. We're going to probably they're going to give up some sacks. But the thing is, they're not as deep as they were a year ago. Our offensive line is better than Minnesota's. Our running backs are better than Minnesota's. Our quarterback is better than Minnesota's. Our receivers are better than Minnesota's. And did Michigan kind of take their foot off the gas? Not really. Minnesota just figured things out and made some adjustments. And Minnesota had opportunities in the first half and made some stupid plays to give Michigan the ball. Granted, Michigan made the plays to take it away. But you take care of the ball in this game, you're going to be just fine. I think this is a game where you're going to see, do I think that, Cam goes or Jonah goes completely crazy this game? No. I think this is going to be balanced and dynamic, but I do actually have one little hot take that I am going to drop on this one, and that is that Damon Williams is going to outproduce Alex Orji in this football game.
Oh,
that's fire. That's fire.
I love that.
It took how long for us to even mention the quarterback position for them? That's what
Their
wins you games, bro. We're not.
Colson Loveland's good,
but you got to get them the ball, and they're gonna force it. They're gonna force feed him. It's just really tough for me to see. Now, to the point of, obviously, I mentioned that Ethan Cadillac Manis clutch run. We really struggle with Mateer, so I think they're gonna look at that and be like, hey, how can we X, Y, and Z? But one thing about that game plan, is we got tackle for losses. We got no gain stops. Our defensive line played well. It's just there were just random times in zero coverage where they popped. So I definitely feel like we're gonna be able to stop the effectiveness of Orji's running. But yeah, I'm not worried about them scoring. I'm not worried about their offense. I'm weather permitting, we definitely need. I would love for it to be a solid day, so there's no excuses about no rain, no snow, none of that. I don't want none of that. I just want a solid day of football so I can talk my shit when we win this damn game. But
rain helps them more than it would help us by orders of
by
magnitude.
A lot, bro. It helped Rutgers.
Yeah. We are now joined by the Darker Knight. How are you doing tonight, bud?
Prepping for this game on Saturday.
Yeah, we were just breaking it down a little bit and talking about it. I'll quickly recap my kind of spicy, slightly hot take for the game, and that's that Damon Williams is going to outproduce Alex Orji in terms of yardage and production in this game. And that's not because I think Will Rogers is going to get hurt. I think Damon, in a similar role that he's played this season, is going to have a big impact in this game, and it's going to be a bigger impact than their quarterback makes.
No under center plays these versus these dudes, bro.
Yeah. Yes, agreed.
But Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham, and not even him, but just Josiah Stewart this year too, bro. We have some issues at tackle. I'm not gonna say issues, but they can be taken advantage of by quality talent. And Josiah Stewart is legit. His development from last year to this year, kind of having a bigger role, similar to Zota. Just took a real big leap in year 4 or 5. So yeah, I think they can ruin the game themselves. But to your point about the depth, they really benefited from rotation last year and being fresh, and not only that, but their offense keeping them off the field. And the fact that that's not going to be one of their advantages this year, you can actually wear down that defensive line. You know what I'm saying? So let's give Jones some carries this game. Let's give him a bunch of carries this game. Let's lean on the run. So
Yeah, I'll jump in there because I'm sure we're talking just more about the matchup, but I've watched every game of theirs this year. And what I will say is, while Graham and Grant can be, effective pretty early on, they are wearing out because they aren't as deep this year, and their offense can't sustain drives, especially when they're put in obvious passing situations. So they're on the field way more. And if you are able to protect, their secondary is very advantageous. They like to cover Will Johnson in the boundary, but other than that, you can pick them apart. When Grant and Graham go off the field, teams have gashed them in the run game, and that pushed them around. So I do feel that could be an advantage for us as well. Out to the trenches.
Agreed. And I will say you force them into 3rd and long situations, and with their basically only relying on Colston Loveland regularly, to quote some of my colleagues that are here this evening, cookies.
Yeah, I think you can bracket Colston, and then you can go man across the board if you really want it. Just ensure you have a spy and kind of mush rush Alex Orji because he gets happy feet and his eyes drop down really quickly. Is kind of one of his flaws. He will throw the ball to you because he's wildly inaccurate. He has plenty of arm talent, but for one, he doesn't have the weapons outside to get the ball to, and for two, he's going to take chances and force the ball when he shouldn't. Kind of similar to who was their starting quarterback in Davis Warren, who he was on pace to lead the entire nation in picks, so they had to bench him. So they really have an issue at quarterback. They try and hide it behind their run game. I will say Khalil Mullings, their running back, is legit. He's a bruiser, old school running back. Kind of reminds me a lot of, if you guys remember, Anthony Thomas, kind of a running back in Michigan where he could get head of steam and he has home run speed. He is tough to tackle, so they're going to lean on him. They're fine making this a phone booth game. So it's just going to come down to our D-line. Getting penetration, making stops, even if we had to crowd the box, daring them to throw, and kind of forcing them to change, their mindset and their game plan. And we have to dictate the tempo on both sides. I do think we can pull away in this game. Again, played, especially towards the end, they will wear down, and when they wear down, they get lazy on both sides of the ball.
Yep.
They have a lot of you think we're undisciplined, they're very undisciplined, which is not characteristic of a Jim Harbaugh team, but he's not there, and you can clearly see that. So we have to take advantage of that. If we play clean, I think we can win this game outright.
Yep. Yeah, well, and one of the things that Minnesota had a lot of success with, and I think we've seen some of it from Washington already, is that when Minnesota went with tempo, that to your point about them wearing down throughout the course of the game, and if you mix in some tempo in there, and particularly those drives where Damon comes in, or if we get into a rhythm, let that flow, just like, all right, let's get up to the line, let's hold the play and let's go. Don't unnecessarily rush and create a stupid mistake, but if it's there, go for it.
Yeah, I was looking at a stat where Graham and Grant last year, they were only averaging like 28 to 29 plays a game. So they were able to stay fresh in games. Whereas this year, they're up in the 50s. So you can kind of see why they're wearing down and how quickly they're wearing down towards the end. Because one, they're not used to that type of longevity in the game, but they're in much tougher games too, much tighter games where they're dependent on, really staying in and keeping that line of attack, as far as with the defensive line. But their linebackers as well. I think their linebackers get taken advantage of. If you notice, especially in Minnesota, they take advantage of them in coverage because they get really peaky. So play action is going to be key. If we can run the ball early and often, their linebackers do get greedy. They do come up. because they want to stop the run first. That's what they're going to attempt to do with us. I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of have a similar mindset where they want to put at least 7 in the box, and they're going to come downhill. So play action is going to be key. I do think they aren't as physical outside. Will Johnson's more of a matchup corner. He's not going to press you. He's just more of a mirror technician type of guy, but you can get behind him as well. I've seen his eyes get tricked and fooled too. So I'm curious to see what Will Rogers does this game to kind of really manipulate the defense. And I do think that this is going to be Jed's coming out party. I think it's the reason why he has all these recruits coming to this game. I think he wants to show something. I think he's been gearing little by little to prepare for this type of atmosphere.
Yeah, I think defensively, we're going to do what we've been doing all year. I mean, I don't think we're not going to stack the box. I think this is going to be the exact same game plan versus Rutgers. Sometimes you'll start too high and bring a guy down. But I think we just stack the box, force them to run. We're going to have to tackle. That's going to be one of the big keys to this game is essentially tackling, because we're going to have a lot of opportunities for tackle for losses, like I was saying, a lot of no gain opportunities, a lot of 3, 4, 5 yard gain type opportunities with Mullins, and then they're going to throw in a guy like Donovan and hope that us being a little worn down or having a backup linebacker in, or Carson's hurt. So at the end of the day, like you never know how he's able to wrap. So I think tackling is going to be the key element here for us on defense. But I don't think the game plan changes at all. I don't think Wazoo intimidated the game plan in regards to running quarterbacks. I think we did have success versus Mateer. I think a lot of one-off plays happen because of athleticism and skill. But I think Mateer is a little bit more confident in his specific abilities. I don't think there's a lot of overthought
and
there.
Certainly more of a threat to throw than Orgy.
Which before our game he wouldn't,
I would argue is a more explosive runner than Orgy.
I think there's more of an identity for sure. Like he knows how to run the ball with his skill. I think I'm not going to say Orgy's a better athlete, but I just think he has more of a runner's identity. Orgy's a quarterback trying to run, but he can't pass. Quarterback trying to run, and I think Mateer is a runner. I think there's a little difference there. You're muted, Kellen. Yeah, go ahead. You're good now.
Oh, my bad. No, if you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. No, Orgy's style is more of a power lead, old school type of running attack with a quarterback. He's more of that Steve McNair, gonna lower my shoulder. He doesn't have wiggle. He's stiff. He's a specimen. He's a big dude. He's a 6'3", 230-pound, legit, solid built dude, but he's not explosive like Mateer. He's not, you don't have to worry about him, breaking these long runs, but he will wear you down if you allow him. So it's hitting him. It's almost like the Derrick Henry effect where you got to hit him or get him to stop his feet and get him to restart again. You don't want him running downhill. So a lot of their attack, if you notice, especially when they bring in somebody like a Donovan Edwards, they've been using him more to get him in the flats, get him more on swing screens, get him more on angle routes, try to use him in the passing game. So they try to use him on obvious passing downs or more gash you to the outside. When he is in, when they do run a zone read with him, it's going to be very apparent for Kamori and those guys to stay home because Orgy is a cutback runner, and that's what they're looking for. They're looking for you to flow with Donovan. He has that cutback lane on a smaller defender. So you just got to stay home. I think we can stay disciplined and stay home and really bottle these guys up. Because if you look at the box score, not to jump back to Rutgers, but, they had a few gashing plays, but for the most part, you held them under 100 yards rushing. You just a couple of mistakes here and there, missed tackles, not wrapping up. You can't afford to do that this week. So
that's exactly what you're saying, Hood.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. That one gash, and the majority of the game was 5-yard runs or less, and we were playing on their side of the line of scrimmage, bro. Like the majority of the game, it was just a missed tackle here, and then obviously that big run, which is that's a product of just being tired too, man. And there's no momentum going in your way. You can't get one favorable call. Like sometimes you just put your hands up, God, duh, bro. But I definitely feel like it's funny because it's 1.5 Hooligan. I think we win by 1. in my head, I got just pounding, 21-20 or like a 17-16. So I'll say 17-16 only because I just don't know how much there's going to be scoring in this game. I don't know how much scoring happens. I think the same thing happens for us where we put up a shit ton of yards, but I do think the same stuff rears its head, bro. Like, you know, I do personally feel like I want to see. I think me and Noah, or Noah mentioned it. I gotta see it before I like believe it. You know what I mean? And the personnel outside of Denzel Boston, Jonah Coleman, and you know, obviously the collective offensive line. Giles has yards, but I just feel like the personnel has to step up on offense for sure, and make some plays and not rely on a scheme to have things happen. It's going to be Denzel Boston, you know, running a drag stop and taking it to the house, bro. Like it needs to be that at some point. You know, I wouldn't say I critiqued it, but watching Giles Jackson's 2 bombs versus Wazoo and him fight to catch the ball when he could have probably caught him, broke a tackle, and scored. Those are the types of, and that's when people start talking about talent and things like those are the types of plays that we just need to make on offense. And I don't think we start here versus Michigan. So yeah, I got a 1-point game. I'll say 17-16.
You said Huskies win?
I got UW winning. It was tough to really. This game was was really tough to have University of Washington winning, but I think this is an easier game than Rutgers, and I think it's an easier game than everybody thought preseason for sure.
About this exact subject, and I think this is the first game where Jed's NFL experience is gonna show, where he has to prepare for a team as if he's, you know what I mean, like the offense is kind of under duress, so he has to kind of go above the X's and O's in this game. And I think he's feeling that pressure. He knows he's going to have to do that and really prepare. I think for the most part, for the few games we've had, he's gone through a script. Okay, let's try this. Let's implement this. But this is a game where you're actually going to see things kind of connected and come together because he has to, and he knows he has to. He's never beaten a top 10 team. There's a lot on the line for him. He knows what this means to the recruits, not only that are watching or that are going to be present in the game. So he has to put a full game together, and I think he will. I think this is going to be one of those games where he's been dreaming of, where he's going to use the pass to set up the run instead of the run to set up the pass. If you notice, that's what he's been wanting to do. Allow Will to get in the rhythm early, sprinkle in Damon, and then use that, you know, to get them moving laterally to open things up for Jonah. So I actually got the Dogs winning. I say Dogs going to win 27-17.
Please be right. I hope that you're right. Yeah, I mean, I said my concerns earlier, but I mean, things that, things I like. I already mentioned the crowd. I think the players will be more hyped than they have been, and as Hood talked about, like we haven't seen that a whole lot. Yeah, I definitely think that even though as good as Michigan's defense is, it's not the same as last year. We can move the ball. We should be able to move the ball. I mean, I don't want to say up and down the field all the time, but like pretty consistently, right? We should have at least 400 yards or about 400 yards. And normally that would mean we would score some points. And as Hood also mentioned, I want to see it first before I mean, Dark and you have great visions and honestly good thought process too with it. And I hope you're right. But until that happens, it hasn't happened yet, and so it's hard for me to predict that will happen. And so, I mean, I got Michigan winning. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's gonna be close. I think hitting 20 points would be huge for us. Like if we can get above 20, that would be. I think that we would most likely win. I think we're gonna be under 20. I think it's gonna be something. I mean, I don't know. It's I don't know want to say exact score, but I mean we could be at 16 points, something like that, or maybe 17, in that range in the teens, and then yeah, Michigan winning by about one score, 3 to 7 points in that range.
I see the same thing, DJ. If we score over 20 points, I think we win. I think if we score under points, it's going to be a lot tougher. Even though I have 17-16, I do feel like the probability is far less if we score under 20 points.
Darker Knight, you're muted.
Forcing at least 2 turnovers in this game. And I do believe we're going to capitalize. We got to capitalize in the red zone because I'm sure during practice it's been emphasized, and not just a day or a segment. It's been days where they've gone over red zone and goal line. So I think they're gonna get that organized and figured out where they're gonna know what packages they want against certain matchups. So I do think when we do get in the red zone, we're gonna capitalize at least once. I mean, you capitalized at least once a week ago, your record's totally different. So we're right there. We're shooting ourselves in the foot. You could say the same thing against Wazoo. Michigan could easily be coming into this game loses the 2 straight. So it's not like they're coming in here looking at the brand thinking that they're just some big and bad team. No, like there's a reason why Vegas is picking the way they are because the eye in the sky don't lie. I see a team that if they get down early, like I seen against Texas, they get defeated and they start hanging their head. And then, like I said, then the misconception of, oh, Michigan's this big bad brand. Yeah, they were. But it's a whole new year, and you can tell the players are really inexperienced in key positions this year for them. And I think
we
that's
said
what
it
we
in
can
the
take
national
advantage.
championship game.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I agree with you there, Darker Knight, and we said it in the national championship game preview a year ago that that team is not built to chase. In the national championship game, they didn't have to chase, but if we can get out fast, this team in particular is not going to be built to chase. And Khalil Mullings is a dude, but he's also a very big dude. He is not a shifty target. Like what we've had problems with, and even Wayshawn Parker had some good runs. We've had some bigger problems with guys that have some wiggle to them. Mullings has some, but he doesn't but he also has size. I watched all other game last week, and he also has size 15 feet. Those are even if you're diving at feet, those are some big feet to be just trip. Just I'm gonna grab a shoelace, but it's a lot longer shoelace than most guys have.
Yeah, I'm just overly not nervous to them. There's a reason why I'm not. I'm not using my platform to talk any trash. I'm not doing any of that because, I feel like if this was an Oregon game or maybe Ohio State game, I might do some back and forth banner just because it is what it is. Or if it's a team I was super confident about beating, it is what it. This is one where, overall, like I said, I have no problem. Previous problems in Michigan, but I'm just hoping that, I think there's a glimmer, hope here, but I just want this season to hurt them more than any team, than any trash talk does. I want this W to hurt them and shut them up more than any trash talk does. So there is that wishful thinking there, and just kind of the DJ's point is kind of like with my little 7-2 this week. I'm kind of thinking DJ got the right little he got the right game flow a little bit. I'm actually gonna flip mine. I'll say 2017 Michigan. I'll say 2017 Michigan. I apologize.
That's to be more careful.
I gotta go with my brain right now.
I hear you, but in my head, I'm like, it's only a matter of time before this team. There has to be one game that not only you get up
It
for,
does.
but that you just don't put your head in your ass, man. You find a way to just execute, not have these dumb little bitty itty things that knock you backwards or shift momentum. And it's we've shot ourselves in the foot so many times in critical situations. It's only a matter of time for you able to just put something together and you show that glimmer of hope, and then the team then starts to believe that those were outliers. This is who we are. This is the brand. We've said going into this year that the standard is a standard. The sloppiness and all that was not UW football. That's not what we're used to. And so we got to get that turned around. You would think with the experience they have now, knowing what kind of challenge they have Saturday, that they're going to put it together. I'm going off on a limb, with my prediction. I'm just saying, I think they're going to put it together and at least show what we can be on a big stage at home. I think this is going to be the first time Michigan is going to come into a crowd in a situation where the crowd is pissed off. It's not just a normal road game. It's a lot of animosity towards them. You were in a way of us reaching our ultimate goal. You took something from us. We're going to let you have it. We're going to, I think the crowd's going to be into the game. I think that's going to be the primary factor of why we force a lot of bad field position and a lot of, issues on their end. I think the crowd's going to really, really play a role. And what I was saying, and I think like I said, we're gonna force at least 2 turnovers. Bookmark.
You're going to force Hood to change his mind again.
Nah, you're funny. What I was gonna say is what you actually said, Darker Knight, is why I switched. You mentioned about how like there's got to be a game that goes right, and this is a game that the red zone that we're gonna execute, and I know that they're gonna be drilling the red zone and this, that, and the other, but are they? If you ask Jet Fish, there's no red zone problem. So, there's an element of like I know you probably like hide certain things from the media, but with all due respect, some of that arrogance in some of the responses, like there's nothing wrong with my offense, bro. Like that does not bring about confidence, regardless of the atmosphere, regardless of anything like that. If you don't feel like there's an issue, now you could be practicing like there's an issue, but you didn't go up on that podium and say there was any type of issue. You did a lot of if we did this, we are 16 out of 19, and if we did that, we're 17, and if we now we're 85%.
Mm-hmm.
So I just personally feel like it's gonna be like it's gonna be the same thing we see for 5 weeks. A frustrating offense, a defense that's overachieving in our opinion, based on preseason expectations. Offensive line holds Graham and Grant better than we think, and where we thought that our expertise was going to be skill play, passing yards, explosive offense. I think that once again rears its head, and we
to your point,
17 points.
like I was thinking about that as well. And so to your point, I think this is the game where Jed proves himself right, where he could say, you know what, there's nothing wrong with my offense, we're just not executing. And if he shows that, okay, well, we're 3 for 3 in the red zone. I mean, he shows you that, yeah, I corrected those things. I went to the podium. I tried to tell you guys. It's like, yeah, but we all know how big his ego is too. So he could be saying that he doesn't want to admit something's wrong. Now, obviously, like I said before, the eye in the sky doesn't lie. Us as fans kind of looking for shaking our head like, what's going on? But if you think about it, I don't think he's calling anything that awful in the red zone like he did against Rutgers. There's some miscommunication. Giles cuts his route off. He doesn't run the corner out. The ball's perfect, but he stops on a route. That's a touchdown. That was a great play call. It was wide open. Little things like that where it's just it like I believe certain stuff is just execution. I mean, we got plays there. There's plays to be had. Sometimes guys aren't open. Some guys don't uncover. We miss a block. We get set back with a penalty. Like, so it's a lot that goes into it. But I think if you can put it all together,
3 field goals.
That's what I'm saying. So we can't just say that he can't do it. It's just execution. It's like concentration stuff. You got to talk to Giles and that. Giles, what did you see? Why'd you stop? Oh, I saw how he was playing. You still run your route because the ball's coming to you. It's little things like that. When you got guys in those situations too that they aren't used to being in. Some guys, if you don't think you're going to get it, it's human nature to stop on a route. We see it every time, every Saturday. It happens. It either happens at critical downs is when it stands out. And so that's what we don't need. But I think you need to use your big bodies in this game because I think they match up really well on the outsides, especially in the red zone. That's the one part of the red zone we haven't used. And I think that's where we can really expose.
So I was going to say that I mean, for one, yeah, I think you guys are right. Jed could be playing mind games with the media and everything like that too. But I mean, yeah, and he maybe he thinks that he really does think that nothing's wrong in the red zone when it comes to play calling, and maybe he's right. Like maybe he is calling the right plays, as you mentioned, Darker Knight, and they're not executing. But at the same time, we're 5 games in, and the guys, if that's the case, assuming that's the case, that he's calling the right plays, the guys aren't executing. And so does he think they're just gonna start doing it now? I mean, maybe they do, but you should also make some changes on your end too. So make sure they have them in plays where they can execute better, like where it's more simpler or things like that, or just switch things up a little bit. So he has to realize that too, and you just can't just keep doing it, hoping it's going to work eventually. You got to make some adjustments on his end as well. So, I mean, I don't know if he does that or not, but he has big ego, so who knows?
You hoop, DJ. You know damn well the slogan. Know your personnel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At the end of the day, why are you if somebody is consistently not executing, Why are you putting him in that situation? Why are you putting Will under center? You know what I mean? And you have 6, 7, 8 fumble snaps under center. You know, one thing that we hopped in the post game spaces and I was wrong too, but a lot of people were like, "Why don't you have Demand and in and running read option and taking advantage of his legs? Why aren't you running Jonah? Why aren't you?" Well, I mean, you'll go watch the game, bro. They are. They did. They did put Demand in the game, and he ran like to the 3. They did run Jonah on first and second down at like the 15, 18, something like that. They did, and he got 8 or 9, and then so they were doing these things. It's just they weren't scoring. So and then to the know your personnel at some point, bro. Maybe some of these receivers ain't got it. So we got Rashid Williams, we got Keith Reynolds. You know what I'm saying? We got other bodies that can. We got Jeremiah Hunter, who literally is a red zone threat, like a 50-50 ball red zone threat. They've thrown more goal line fades to him in spring game than they did in the 5 games.
And I will say also on the subject of personnel, anybody remember how many rushing touchdowns in particular, how many short yardage rushing touchdowns Cam Davis had in 2022?
Bruh, and this is another like play call element, but like, where's the Wildcat? You know what I mean? Like, have Cam with the ball or Jonah with the ball. 2 options there, you know what I'm saying? Or even obviously having Demond there in the goal line too. Now Demond's a dog, so Demond don't know how to fucking slide or go down when he need to go down. So that could be like a turnover prone element where he's gonna try to fight to get in, and Michigan's advantageous. Big Ten teams are advantageous on that stuff. So I get that, but like have Jonah do it. You know what I'm saying? Cam do it. Adam Muhammad do it.
In his first year, when we had those struggles and we were struggling to get a yard at times near the red zone, what he start to do it with Wayne Talapapa, Wildcat,
Just Wildcat, bro.
Run something
That's athlete on athlete.
and just
11
power,
on 11,
just running
play
power.
11 on 11
Basically,
football.
sweep was power. Sweep or power. Just get another athlete with the ball in his hand running downhill. Oh, that's not working.
You know what we're
German,
doing? It don't matter, bro.
It's not hard. You know what I mean? Like you're literally. Sometimes I think that's what's wrong, Jet too. He overthinks it. It's like, dog, keep it simple. In the first 3 games, you were using your big running backs within 4 yards to still run the ball. You don't have to pass, run. Like if Jonah's averaging 6 yards a carry, if I'm at the 4, I'm running 3 straight times.
It looks like the offense is between the 20s chunk play offense. Like that just looks like what it is. It looks like it's a between the 20s chunk play offense. And if we aren't scoring from 30 yards out, if we're not scoring from 15, 20, 30, 40 yards out, then there just seems to be a struggle there. I cannot recall, and I watched all Arizona season, I cannot recall a time where outside of like a goal line fade to T-Mac or something like that where they had any creativity there. So this is just par for course. And I do think that there is a level of effectiveness that, Jed does need to attack and hold himself accountable for. So like I said, I think I think we struggle to score. I think it's even a game where it's like Michigan may get out 10-0, 13-3, and it's a boring ass game in the middle. They go up 20-3, and then they get tired and all that kind of stuff, and then we start leaning on them, and then we score 10, we score 17, and I just don't think we catch back up.
Which would be a repeat of the Michigan USC game, which would be a repeat of the Michigan Minnesota game. But what I will also say, and I'm going to tie back to a little bit of Husky history, I'm going to go back to the last time this team came to Husky Stadium, and it was very similar where we had issues where we shot ourselves in the foot a little bit. Reggie Williams dropped one, like basically one of the few times that I ever remember Reggie Williams dropping something, but then he kind of caught fire late in the game, and then obviously they were about to take control, and we blocked a field goal, and then they got the ball back, and Husky Stadium went crazy. And then they got the ball back, and a ball bounced off a receiver, and Omari Lowe, who had blocked the field goal, took it the other way. I think that there is a little bit of history that might repeat itself in this one in that regard, and I think we might actually start to clean things up. Maybe not the entire game, because I think that the first half, to DJ, to your point, and Hood, to your point, I think we're going to still be see Jed being Jed in the first half, and I think there's going to be some elements of frustration, like what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? But I think this might be a game where the light bulb comes on. Ultimately, my score prediction is going to be 24-20 Washington. Tight, and I think we might actually somewhat be semi-comfortable late in the game. I don't think I'm saying that we're going to score a go-ahead touchdown to win it 24-20 where Michigan's got a field goal lead. But I do think that there are, at a certain point, Jed also, Darker Knight, to your point, yeah, Jed was hired for a reason, but at a certain point, this fan, and that reason, that time is fast approaching, and I'm like, dude, it's put up or shut up time. The stats that we care about are putting wins on the board, and that means that, yes, you can say, hey, if this had gone this way, but if it's in butts for candies and nuts, we'd all be Willy Wonka. At a certain time, it's put up or shut up, and the biggest stat that matters is getting wins. Jed, to quote you, it literally is all about the W. It's time.
And your game flow is relatively similar. I mean, you're just basically saying we score one more time. That is literally, I mean, Vegas obviously is saying it. That is literally this game. Personally, if it was just off of how the teams have played for 5 weeks, Washington should beat them by a lot. Washington should beat them by 2+ possessions. But to be honest, we've played even the Eastern Michigan and Weber State to some degree. We've played to the opponent. It started early it started slow and then played to the opponent. I didn't even see Killer Instinct, when we were up by a lot. Also, this was kind of a squirrel, but the fact that was it 24-5 versus Northwestern? We're in the red zone. Jonah Coleman clearly gets a first down, and we don't get to. So that's a little weird. But and speaking of refs, I do feel like this conference they definitely help teams like Michigan. They definitely help teams, like Ohio State and things like that. So they helped Michigan State last year. You know what I mean? So that's the part that kind of gets me a little. We're already in discipline. I mentioned earlier how Grant last week, tackled a running back from Minnesota and rubbed the face mask. The same thing Javon Parker did, and right in front of the ref, and it wasn't called. So it just seems like, a rite of passage type vibe. USC dealing with similar things. We haven't seen a rear's head really with Oregon, but I feel like we're going to be fighting a lot of demons here.
I didn't even think about it. That's a good point, Hood, because what I've noticed in this conference, even looking across other games, is they tend to lean towards the blue bloods with calls. They'll give them the benefit of doubt on a lot of calls, whether it's holding, whether it's pass interference, whether it's offside. They just get you saw, just like even last week when they tried to say Minnesota was off, it was offsides. It was like, and the penalty came after the recovery. The flag was thrown. If you look where the flag was thrown after the ball was recovered. So it's like, how did you tell from the back that he was offside? How?
Oh.
Yes.
Over and under of holding calls called on Michigan 1.5 up at my house that it's under.
Defensive holding?
No, offense. I mean, maybe defense too. But
man, they were holding USC.
I know. They're not calling. They may call one
I think they're going to get a couple because I think the stadium is going to come unhinged at the seams if it gets agreed.
Do it matter though?
Their tackles.
What we gonna do? Find the refs?
You can bend the corner on those tackles.
I forgot who said it, but they were talking about the Virginia Tech game, the Minnesota Michigan game, and they were like, they can do this. And obviously, it's gonna have people talking about, oh, their betting's more involved, Vegas is more involved, but where's the repercussions, bro? It just seems like there's no. I haven't seen anything about people being suspended or anything like that in regards to these bad calls. I haven't seen anything, so it just seems like it's like, oh shit, bad called game. All right, next game. There's just no accountability there. So I definitely feel like there's an element here where it could also get out of hand because of the fact that, penalties are kicking our ass. So,
It's possible.
Yeah, if it comes down to a penalty fest, that's not one I have no faith in us winning because it hasn't worked in our favor all season.
That's been 5 weeks, bro.
Our secondary likes to play physical. You get a little too handsy because these receivers aren't going to be able to separate, so guys can be able to jump routes. If you get there a little before, I can see them just extending drives, throwing flags. So little stuff like that, I'm thinking in my head, I can account for. I just don't see them putting the ball in harm's way enough for it to impact the game as much as what DJ and Hood was kind of referencing to with the score. I do think Washington will move the ball at ease on this team. It's just if we can execute and kind of overcome our own demons once we get in or near the red zone. I think it's going to come down to our execution because it's just them stopping them. But I literally watch Michigan play all year, and I don't see anything where I'm like, I don't know how we're going to do that. If our offensive line can hold up, I think we.
I don't know if
that's the key. That's the key.
I don't know if it does,
we haven't
bro.
played connected yet. We've been there in spurts, but I have seen the steady improvement, in each game where I'm like, okay, I feel confident. I don't feel like when Will drops back, I'm like, oh my God, like get the ball out, get the ball out, get the ball out. So this game is going to be a true test. So we're going to be able to see.
Josiah Stewart's going to have a game. I think interior run blocking has been a strength. I think interior pass blocking has been a strength. Keep it a bean. I mean, Max McCree's been impressive. He has impressive rep. I mean, but Drew Azapari is a dog. I think he's an NFL guy. I just don't think. I don't think whoever's on Josiah Stewart is gonna be able to stop that boy. I think Will stays interception free though. I think Will stays interception free. A personnel thing here too is I think we get Bryce Butler back. There's another D lineman
which is huge given the loss of Javon.
Yeah.
This also I don't think we've seen a ton of him this year, but I think this is also with what Michigan wants to do offensively. This is also a game where there's going to be some snaps for Logan Sagapolu.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Logan is going to play this game. Yeah. And Zach Durfee's going to get a full run. I'm curious about Mikhail. I don't know.
Zach's kind of questionable with that turf toe. Did they say whether Zach Durfee's questionable with a turf toe?
I think they said he's pro. I think
I'm sure he'll probably try to shoot it up and play. I'm just not sure it's gonna last the whole game as far as that injection. So it's just gonna be a play with pain tolerance type of thing. I'm curious.
But he'll have contusion or something like elite bruise, bad bruise,
like a bone contusion or like a deep tissue contusion is it's not gonna kill you by any stretch of the imagination.
Oh, that should hurt. I've had a bone before. That should hurt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I did my elbow and it wasn't the same for about a year.
Bro, yeah. My foot wasn't the same for 8 months.
All right. Any final thoughts on this one?
I was actually going to ask if there was a unsung hero in the game, who would it be on either side of the ball? If you had to predict one.
Is this in order for us to win? You're talking about?
Just whether the guy just stepping up, playing outside of his above his level that you didn't see coming. Somebody that maybe breaks out. I have a guy in my head who I think could be that guy, but I kind of want you guys to go first.
Go ahead. You're about to talk.
Offensively,
either side of the ball.
I think offensively, whether people are expecting it or not, I think Will kind of shreds this defense statistically. Do we score? Whatever. But I think he gets his 250, 280, 310. Defensively, this is going to be interesting because I do feel like he is very, very talented. I just remember watching the first game, maybe game or two, and I was like, damn, the way this person moves is kind of oh, that's impressive. I think that's Bryce Butler. And that's with it, and that's with the opportunity. Obviously, a fortunate situation, but there's a that's a guy you're not gonna have to rile up to be grateful to play. You know what I'm saying? So we were kind of mentioning, Mike, all the like outside things trying to hype the kids up for this game. So like Mike being there, Julio being there, recruits being there, like all that stuff. And I think that plays a huge part in why Bryce has a out of his body type of game. If he gets the snaps and reps.
I'll give mine. I think offensively, I kind of said it already, or like if I can add anything, like I think DeMond is going to have a sneaky big game in this one. That, like, I think we're going to. I agree with you. I think that Will is going to get his in this game, and I also think that will do some of that, passing to really open up the run, and they're going to have to start having to cheat on. I mean, like look what our running backs did last week. Adam averaged 8.3. Jonah averaged over 5 a carry. Cam was just under at 4.8. Like, they're going to have to honor that. Like, yes, Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant are going to make some plays, but they're not going to stop every interior, like, and to the point about the interior O-line, run blocking. We're going to get some, and that's going to open some things up for Damon, and I think Damon's going to have, maybe an explosive for a touchdown. But I think, outside of that, like, this also could be a sneaky one for Decker, where Decker, where they're with Sugar Hill's been playing very well at corner for them. Like,
yeah, he has.
I think it's the Decker or maybe even Kalecki, where it's a tight end that makes a couple of key catches to extend drives to keep us moving. Even maybe a couple of catches in the red zone, not necessarily in the end zone, but in the red zone to keep the chains moving. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to go number 3, and I'm going to say it's Jordan Shaw, and I think Jordan Shaw gets a pick, and I think that pick may
Jay Shaw. I've been waiting on that, dog. I've been waiting for that.
Also, keep an eye on Deshaun Lynch.
Keep an eye on,
particularly if Durfee can't go or if Durfee is limited. Keep an eye on Deshaun Lynch.
Oh yeah, Jay Shaw was strapping Dimir.
I had 2. I was gonna have 2 both on defense. I say first guy that comes to mind because he's gonna have to play big is Cam Broussard. I think you're gonna see him matched a lot on Colson Loveland, whether that's bracket coverage as man. I think he just moves well enough where he can shadow him and really make plays on the ball.
6'3".
I think he's gonna have at least 1 pick, and I do see him maybe at least forcing a fumble. But I envision him just creating a turnover without Hardy plays. And then the second guy who's unsung, who actually made a play last week, which was kind of negated, but something tells me Lance Holtzclaw is going to break out. It's only a matter of time. Because, yeah, he may say, yeah, he's a situational pass rusher, but I just think he has a knack for being impactful without the stat line filling that. But he gets consistent pressure when he's on the field. And I think he's a type of guy that he can chase down somebody like Alex Orji, or just kind of cause him to get off his spot, or cause him to evade and have to escape the pocket when he doesn't want to. And I think we're going to look back and see, like, with the effort he plays with, that he can really put an imprint on his game.
I think there's going to be a decent amount, bro, because, with Carson's situation, the necessity to be able to tackle, I think Kamori's going to have a shit ton of opportunities. I think Devin Bryant has suited up every game and has been on special teams every game, so I think he's going to have a wild opportunity for some reps. Obviously, depends on if they're going to take Carson out at any point. Obviously, Brian Parham.
You got Drew Fowler coming back this week, too.
He was supposed to be back last week, too. But so we'll see about that. But I think the depth in the linebacker room has an opportunity. And oddly enough, as you kind of talking through it, I think a lot of the impact players that came back that played in this game are going to have a different type of game. I think like Cam Fab, Zotup, the usual suspects, I think those guys are individually, now whether they're able to rile guys up, all that kind of stuff, whatever, but I think those guys, Carson, Zotup, Cam Fab, EJ, I think those type of guys are going to be the ones, maybe even like guard, you know what I'm saying? Like those types of guys that are, I'm going to be super hyped for this game. Want highlights, win, lose, or draw. Like, know that what this stage is and knows what this means for Washington and all that kind of stuff. I think a guy like Zotup might. I think he's going to be on draft boards. I think he could be on draft boards already, but I think this is a game where it's like, damn, he is who is 11. We might see a ball dinger highlight. We might see some type of clout finally for Zotep this year after this game.
DJ, did you have any on this topic, guys under the radar that make a big impact in this one?
Yeah, I'll make it quick. I gotta be heading out. But honestly, the first person that came to mind, and Hood mentioned it already, is Butler on defense. Like I like what I saw earlier on in the season, and given his situation and circumstances, he's gonna get more playing time, assuming he's playing. Like has Jed said that he's playing for sure? But I know it's kind of been
Yeah.
okay.
They said he's gonna be here.
Okay.
He's gonna be
Yeah, I mean,
here.
with Parker being hurt, he's going to have opportunities, and I expect him to ball out there. And on offense, I'll probably say one or both of the tackles, and on offense, and just because need them to step up to stop their pass rush and give Will Rogers time. And so I'm gonna go. I'll say both those guys on offensive tackle on offense.
Max McCree game?
Yeah.
Drew's very good. Drew's very good. Yeah, guard is very good. Like
Yeah.
Guard is very good. They run off of guards. Well, obviously they run off of both of D'Angelo's cheeks. But guard, bro, guards that look at Jonah's runs, bro. He'd be like,
Yeah,
it's guard and D'Angelo.
All right. Well, everybody, that's an hour and a half or hour and 45 minutes worth of conversations for your Friday listening and viewing pleasure. Thanks so much for listening or watching. Go Dogs. We will see you next week.
Go Dogs.
Michigan, man.
Go Dogs.